It's kind of weird to get pulled into 30-year-old hype. Before the release of Niji no Silk Road, there was a lot of magazine coverage of the game. I'm going through these magazines looking for game advertisements and artwork in the articles, and I'm going, oh, I wonder if Silk Road will be something special. It's special, alright. Niji no Silk Road is one of those games that attempts to reinvent the RPG, and we've seen how successful they've been on the Famicom. Niji no Silk Road is based on a television show. Actually, a documentary television show that aired in 1980. For some reason, this show really struck a chord in Japan, and the music in particular, which is used in the game, is fondly remembered. Of course, the game itself solely uses the setting of the Silk Road, the trade route between Europe and China, and the aforementioned music. In Silk Road, you step into the shoes of a deposed prince. To recover your kingdom, you have to collect 7 shards of a magic mirror. That's not something that develops naturally as you're going through the story. They just outright say, yeah, go get those 7 magic mirror shards. You've been deposed, so the only thing you have to your name are 5 clay bricks. Niji no Silk Road might look like a Dragon Quest clone, but once you're past the interface, the similarities break down. But the interface first. Hit A to bring up a menu. Here you can talk, search the area, and examine your 4 different inventories. Yeah, we're getting into this one early. You have a usable item inventory, where you have your potions and things like that. Then you have your trade goods inventory. That's a big mechanic of the game that I'll get into in a little bit. You have your equipment inventory. Any equipment you purchase and place in these inventories is automatically equipped. In Niji no Silk Road, equipment is the primary way to change your stats. For example, I equipped a knife, so I get 2 more hit points. And I think we can all agree that equipping basic weapons to increase your health makes perfect sense. The final inventory is your quest item inventory. So pieces of the mirror, keys, that kind of thing. When you're wandering outside of the city, you could be attacked by random enemies. And in combat, typically your options are to fight, defend, use an item, or run away. Sometimes when you're attacked, the robbers will demand that you turn over money or items, and if you do so, the encounter just ends. One of the weirder things is if you're attacked by multiple enemies, rather than just selecting who you want to fight, you get a cursor interface where you have to point out which enemy you want to attack. If you fight and win, you don't get money, you don't get experience. You get LP, which are license points. When you've earned enough license points, you can go to the ruler of a country and purchase a license to sell goods that they make there. Without a license, you're unable to trade in the most profitable items. And trade is what you're really supposed to be doing in the game. All of the major cities have markets, which are a bunch of vendors that can buy and sell 3 items each. And every one of these has a constant price for these goods. So the intention is that you buy low in one town, travel overland to the next, sell there, and then repeat the process until you make enough money to buy whatever you need. Money is what makes the world go round in Niji no Silk Road. You have to have cash to buy a caravan so that you can carry more goods, hire mercenaries to protect you in dangerous areas, buy rapid passage on a magic carpet or ship, or pay your taxes when you go to a new country. And a lot of interactions that you have with characters will be driven by your money. Trading is really the only way that you can get cash, though if you have no money and no goods, you can go to the palace in Baghdad and you'll be granted 100 gold to get you out of that hole. The intention is that you'll travel back and forth across the world, slowly unlocking access to more goods, and taking things between towns with the highest profit margins. The problem with that is that the highest profit margins are also trips that take extremely long. So if the short trip only gives you half the profit, but you can repeat it 4 times in the duration it would take you to do one long trip, well, the shorter routes wind up being obviously more profitable. By the way, one issue with hiring a magic carpet or a ship is that at random you'll crash, stranding you somewhere in the middle of your journey. One more thing to be aware of as you travel the world is that you have a water meter. If you run out of water, then you become dehydrated and get damaged with every step that you take. To recover water, you have to either purchase water skins in town and use those, locate oases as you wander around the world, or, and here's the tricky one, save your game and then hit reset. You save your game at these elders in town, and when you load a save, you start out with full health and water, which also makes the inns useless. You start the game in Damascus, and until you do a favor for the ruler of Baghdad, you're unable to leave the region. Eventually your quest takes you all the way to Japan, which is a little bit off the end of the Silk Road. Your first few hours are going to consist of walking back and forth between Damascus and Baghdad, selling clay in Baghdad and buying wood there, and then selling the wood in Damascus. Eventually you'll have enough money to fully equip yourself, and that's when you can properly start the quest. There are dungeons in Niji no Silk Road, like at the pyramid where you're confronted immediately by a sphinx that asks you riddles. One thing to be aware of about dungeons and, well, even the towns, is that doors are often invisible to you. If there's a structure that you can't see the interior of, you'll want to press up against the walls until you find the entrance. Niji no Silk Road is mainly remembered for being a painfully bad RPG. Simultaneously shallow because 90% of what you do is going to be trading goods back and forth, and time-consuming, as the amounts of money and license points that you have to acquire to do anything is enormous. And that was my reaction when I started playing. I looked at how many license points I needed and how much money I earned per trip, and then I went, I have to do this how many times? It didn't help Niji no Silk Road that there was another RPG that was already very popular on computers that was also built on trading, and that game got a Famicom release only a few weeks after it. Niji no Silk Road is a competently made game that's rather uninspired in the gameplay department. Using a historical setting was a neat idea, but the trading is rather dull, and that's literally everything there is in this game.